Can you guys hear that in the background? Like, literally right as I sat down to shoot this, they started construction, so we've got that. Welcome back to another one of these videos. A little bit of a disclaimer at the beginning if you just stumbled upon this and you're unaware. This is actually part 3 in a series of these videos. So if you haven't watched part 1 and 2, they will be linked. I would recommend watching those first because otherwise this one might not make that much sense. But that being said, we're gonna jump right in today. So a little bit of a summary up to this point, just as a refresher for those of you who have watched, not for those of you who haven't. Seriously, go and watch. It's also linked below. But anyways, at the end of 2017, I visited Canada and found all these mini DV tapes from my first trip to Japan. At the end of 2018, I was on TV and one of the cameramen was like, you know what, I could digitize all of those for you. And so now we are on tape, I don't know, what is this tape? We are on tape 2 or 3 of this journey. At last we left off. I had just arrived in Sapporo and I was afraid to actually venture out into the area. Reminder, at this time there were no like smartphones or anything like that. All of the normal disclaimers apply. I was young, So with all that being said, I'm gonna toss it up right there and we're just gonna jump right in exactly where we left off in the last video.
I really don't want to lose where I am.
I'm like pointing the camera right at Sapporo Station.
Get lost and not be able to make it back.
I was really concerned about getting lost.
Alright, so there's the station down there. I just came from there.
I've actually separated from the station.
To my area here.
Ah, okay. Odori Park. I think that's what it's called.
5:54 p.m.
What time did I arrive at?
Wandered far as...
Wandered far. It's like 100 meters. I wandered far.
Just weird. Hopefully, if I keep walking, I'll find something.
Hopefully, if I keep walking, I'll find something. I feel like that's still kind of my motto to today. If I keep walking, I'll find something. That's where all the best adventure is.
So here's my first cherry blossom tree I've ever seen.
There it is, right there. First cherry blossom tree I've ever seen.
And
you know, face to face. I saw those ones on the train, but
as everyone says,
it really is. That girl's like swinging her arms as she walks too. I just can't stop smiling at this moment. Like, just that very first cherry blossom tree that I ever got. Ooh, zoomed right in too. I feel like we need a bit of music along with this. I love the little conversations in the background. Alright, so it looks like I'm at least back in the city now. I've gotten away from the park and the cherry blossoms.
Alright, so I don't know if I'm allowed to film this, but...
It's so fresh to do. Being in a shrine and being like, I don't know if I'm allowed to film this. I want to pause right there for a second because I feel like this is, maybe it's a little bit less now that there's YouTubers and vloggers and everything like that, but have you felt that when you come to Japan for the first time? Like you get into a shrine or temple and you're like, I'm not entirely sure if I'm allowed to film this or not. There are certain temples and shrines that you can't film in, but more often than not, they're gonna have signs posted saying no pictures or no video or something like that. Or on the opposite side, if they come up to you and they're like, ah, sorry, no pictures, no videos, then just politely say, ah, okay, no problem, and turn off your camera. It happens to me from time to time still, but for the most part, a lot of places are okay with it. Sidebar over, back to the video. I still love torii gates to this day. I was like, okay, let's see how he does the prayer at the shrine.
Throwing money.
Throwing money? Oh my god! I remember this. So I ran into this like group of like break dancers out on the street and I was like, well, this is really neat. This guy's pretty good. And he slips. Do you hear that music? That's Yoshida Brothers. I'm a little more excited about this than I probably should be, but at this time I had no idea what a shamisen was or who the Yoshida Brothers were. So that is so neat. It's so cool just to be able to look back and see that and be like, huh.
That was a lot of fun. Now comes my next goal. I have to find this friggin' museum. That's the reason I came here. I got to see cherry blossoms.
Okay, I wanted to find the Sapporo Beer Museum.
I've yet to, well, now that I'm in the place, I've yet to find this museum. So, once I find it, gotta make sure I got enough tape left. Alright, I think I found it, but I'm not sure.
That's definitely not it. It's like a church.
This is the area it should be in.
It's definitely not. It's nowhere close.
Like a lot of the pictures I've seen. I really don't know, because I'm not seeing, like, any markings of Sapporo beer or anything. So I'm just gonna go
because
up
it's not it.
Got pretty lucky. I found a nice couple from Virginia who was able to kind of give me semi-directions to the Sapporo Beer Museum.
Good.
It's like I was going in the complete wrong direction. Big surprise there, eh?
Big surprise.
But, yeah. Remember how I told you these walkways for the blind people? Well, there's one now.
My first time actually seeing a visually impaired individual using the walkways.
At the moment I would follow his travels. One of my biggest questions.
What's your question?
How would someone like that get along in, say, Tokyo, where it's so crammed packed that there's absolutely nowhere to move?
That's actually a really good point. I'm surprised I thought about that at the time, but it is really different between being in a wide open space like Sapporo and coming out to Tokyo where things are incredibly crowded. Now, since then, I have seen people in Tokyo who are visually impaired, and I think it comes down to one simple thing. The people around them are generally quite patient and understanding when it comes to people like this who are visually impaired. In fact, I have even seen school children who have gone on like school tours where they get canes and get blindfolded and they're like taught what it's like to be a visually impaired individual for the day. It's built into the culture. So, Norm from 2005, there's your answer.
I'm gonna do it tomorrow, first thing. I have no idea what time it opens, but I gotta catch a train around 12, so I hope it's damn soon.
I remember just how much I loved the night culture, and this tape is dying. And that's it. That's the end of this tape. I'm gonna switch up to the next one. I remember that my first time in Sapporo, like when I went into this Shotengai, like the arcade street, I was super interested in just how many people were sitting there playing guitar and whatnot at night, just performing. Alright, back to it.
This is really interesting to me. It seems perfectly okay. Seems fun, like.
I love this guy. I don't know why, I just love the passion that he puts into his singing.
Very quaint little sushi shop. Made some friends.
I remember this. This is by far one of my most treasured memories.
Kind enough to donate a beer to me.
He donated a beer to me. That's sushi.
Moi guy, okay. That was definitely something more than I expected.
Night vision.
It was really interesting. I had a great time. I met a bunch of Japanese men. They were very friendly. But and there's a big but here. I just spent 3 days worth of money on one meal without realizing it. Now I see why people say that Japan can be so expensive. I have to be careful next time.
I gotta pause this because that little bit of sushi that I showed, that was the whole meal. It was like I got 5 or 6 pieces of sushi and those guys bought me the beer that was there. I didn't even pay for that.
Yeah, I'm a little stressed right now over that, but you know what? it was worth it because I made some good friends in the process. So
I love that way of
I can't
thinking.
really complain too much over that. It wasn't too bad. It was really good food though.
All 6 pieces of it.
Wow. So I'm still stressing out about that $30 meal. Damn it, that was expensive. It's still like, it's like
so much for that positive mindset.
I gotta learn not to stress.
It's years later and I still haven't learned not to stress.
Just sticking to like $10 a day for like the next 4 weeks. But I'm really comfortable now in Sapporo because people here have been great. They've been absolutely amazing. I've met some of the nicest, most interesting people.
Definitely.
Like yesterday, so.
People really are what make the travel amazing. You can visit all the places in the world that you want, but if you don't meet amazing people along the way, it's not going to make that much of a difference. And I think I learned a lot of that just from this very first trip to Japan, because all of my favorite memories looking back were not just of the places I went, but of the people that I met there. And now I feel like I'm just saying really obvious stuff. So I'm gonna...
One of the other things I really love here is how mini everything is.
How mini everything is.
Like, look at this truck.
The little postal truck, the K trucks.
A regular truck.
I still like it. I still love how many, especially like the mini fire trucks and whatnot. Being from Canada where fire trucks are huge, it's just cool to see.
I know it's really early, but I'm on my way to go find the Sapporo Beer Museum.
At 7 a.m.
Japanese streets are so easy to navigate. Like seriously, all you have to do is look up at the corner, look for that north, east, southwest address.
I'm gonna pause it right there. Because Sapporo is actually unique in this format. The streets of Sapporo were designed, the entire city is laid out as a grid. So rather than using street names, you just go to E4S13 and that's the address. So Tokyo, by contrast, is incredibly cowpathed.
Alright, so I made it.
I made it. I knew I made it. I've been there. This was me. These are my videos. Why are you so surprised, Norm? Why is there... This is where like a lot of my current vlogging style was kind of born. This moment of like setting down the camera and walking into the frame, and just I knew that someday I might want to look back at these videos or maybe even share it with my family. And it's just so neat to look at footage from 13 years ago and see me doing the exact same thing that I do to this day in my vlogs.
Snowfall of petals that I told you about.
It's just so beautiful. Again, it's one of those things that you cannot get... It's like echo. You can't capture it on video as beautifully as you see it in real life. And I didn't fall in the river. Good job.
When you're...
The Sapporo phone booth that was like shaped like a beer keg. I hear that it's gone now, that it's just not there anymore, which is too bad because it was really cool. Mind you, that not that many people use payphones anymore, so a lot of the payphones are gone. Which, by the way, the March 11th earthquake back in 2011 really sucked.
Right by the Sapporo.
Selfie shot.
It's a phone.
Yes.
And it's a beer keg. You have better than that, does it? Oh. But really, can you imagine some of the calls people have gotten from that? Because at the end of the tour that you can take here, for about half an hour, you can sample as much beer as you want.
Sample.
Can you imagine the drunk people that stumble into the phone booth?
Just standard beer museum stuff.
I got myself a keychain, a Hokkaido keychain, and
I think I had caramel too.
A Sapporo caramel beer candy or something. I really don't know what it was.
You know, I never ended up eating it.
Total came to about $5.20, so not too bad for 2 souvenirs. But that pretty much zonks my budget for the day. I've got about $3 left for the entire day.
Yeah, I can pause it right there. Yes. Yes, I did try really hard to stick to that budget. And a lot of people are like, well, that can ruin your time in Japan, sticking to a really tight budget. And in some ways it can, but for me personally, sticking to a budget has always been a little bit of an adventure. It forces you to find stuff that isn't the easy pay money and do this kind of thing. And that has always led to discovery for me. So I like that. I like that. I may even do a video on it. Maybe soon. So at this point, it looks like I've headed back to Odori Park. I know I needed to leave Sapporo at like 12 o'clock, so I was just trying to squeeze in every last bit of Sapporo that I could. Oh, I remember these. I think they were singing a song from a popular group called Yuzu. And I think I just stayed right there for the better part of 20 minutes, just listening to them. I remember I had a lot of trouble just leaving Sapporo. I did not want to leave.
Well, this is definitely something else. I don't know what to say. I'm heading back to the train station, and it's really difficult to do because I don't want to go. I don't want to leave.
I didn't.
This place is so beautiful. The people are so nice. It's so different from Tokyo.
It is.
It's a whole different kind of amazing.
I'm just gonna stop it right there because I feel that is basically everything that I need to say about Sapporo in its own. Just getting out of Tokyo in its own. It's one of the reasons why to this day I try to introduce Tokyo. The channel's called Tokyo Lens, but I also try to introduce stuff outside of Tokyo so that you guys can see just how different each part of Japan is. Every area you go, despite being in the same country, has its own feel. I feel that's similar for a lot of countries, but each area in its own has a different flavor and something unique to offer. It's not just one standard Japan. Allow me to repeat that. It's not just one standard Japan. There you go, 12:22.
Alright, so I'm on my way.
Heading back to Tokyo, finally. If I'm not mistaken, that's the Sapporo Beer Museum. And I'm pretty sure the next day I jump back into Tokyo and do some fun, exciting Tokyo stuff. But for now, that was my very first trip ever to Sapporo. That setup seems a little bit better. But what did you think? Like, if you've been to Japan, did this match up with any of your experiences or like how you felt during your first travel? And if you haven't been to Japan, does this kind of meet your expectations? Like, obviously, that was 14, it was like 13 and a half, 14 years ago now. A lot has changed. Smartphones have really changed the landscape, and in my personal opinion, kind of taken away some of the adventure, but that is a story and a talk for another time. But for now, it would mean the world to me if you guys would give that like button some love, and let's hang out a little bit in the comments as I do on the release of every video. So thank you guys again for joining, and you know I will see you again real soon.
When I was at that sushi place, the one that I spent too much money at, he gave me this. It's a protective tag. I've got one on my bag. This is the Sapporo Beer Garden. I'm going to be touring around. Actually, just a second.